Hello students, welcome back to the online certificate course on structuring research paper. Today we are going to discuss about meaning and definition and classification of review of literature. This is Prashant SV, Assistant Professor teaching Political Science in the Department of Humanities at St. Francis de Sales College, Bangalore. So as I told you, today we are going to discuss about review of literature. Majorly, we are going to discuss about meaning and definition and classification of review of literature. So far, you have studied about research, meaning and definitions of research and objectives of research, and also you have studied about characteristics of research and criteria of good research, and also steps in research and problems a researcher faces during their journey of research. These are the things you have studied so far. And now I am taking you to the first step of research, that is review of literature. Any research starts with the review of literature. So review of literature, this is the first step in conducting the research, because without knowing what happened so far in the particular field or in the particular area of research, you cannot do a research. First you have to know what is the existing knowledge and what is lacking in that area and how you can address that. So this is a researcher must know before in the beginning their research. So in that point of view, review of literature becomes the first step in the research. So then what is review of literature? To put it in a simple words, we can say that review of literature is a summary and analysis of the research that happened in the particular area and the knowledge established in it. Here, as I told you just before, that a researcher trying to understand the knowledge in the particular area, in the sense that what knowledge we have, what is the existing knowledge in the particular area, and what is lacking or what not being focused so far. That is what a researcher will trying to do. So we can say that review of literature is a summary and analysis. But when we say that it's a summary, it's not a mere summary of a book, it's not a mere summary of an article. It is a critical summary of or an analysis of the literature. So it is not just a summary, it's not just an analysis, it's a critical summary and about the work, what happened in the particular area. So it's not just writing what the author has written in the particular book or has written in the particular article, but you need to see many things here in the process of review of literature while writing the review of literature. So those things we'll study, discuss little later in our discussion. So now what we can say that review of literature is a summary, but it's not a mere summary, an analysis of the research that happened in the particular area and the knowledge established in it. Now what now when it comes to the other things about review of literature, the review of literature will give knowledge to the reader, the context of the research. A review of literature places the particular work, the work or the research what you going to undertake, you are placing that work in the context, in a context. So when you place that in a particular context, the reader can come to know that so what you are going to do, and what it is related. So what are the existing knowledge? So in the by reading your review of literature, the reader will come to know that the context of your research, so what you are going to do. Because of that reason, it's not just a summary. That's why in the beginning I told you it's not just a summary. You know, it is more than a summary. So the other thing, yeah, I was talking about, that is, will give knowledge to the reader, the context of the research, and to identify research gap and research problem. I think more about identifying research gap and research problem you will study in later video lectures, or this online lectures also. But to put it in a very simple words, research gap means the purpose of the review of literature. I told you one of the purpose of the review of literature, it is to know the existing knowledge in the particular area of research. When you know the existing knowledge, then you can able to find out where the researchers so far happened on this particular area are lacking, and which has not been focused so far. Based on that, you can find out the research gap, where a particular research is lacking, to focus or shed a light on a particular area. Or if it is not insufficient, okay, whatever happened research, which if it is not insufficient, so why it is not insufficient? So this is what you will find out in the research gap and research problem. To know this research gap and research problem, you need to do a thorough review of literature. So without the review of literature, you cannot identify the research gap and research problem. So if you can't identify research gap and research problem, then you cannot frame hypothesis. So hypothesis, as you know that and I think you may study in the later classes, hypothesis, this is to make it very simple. It's a statement yet to be proved. So you cannot, in the sense that statement what you make, your research goes based upon hypothesis to test the hypothesis, and in that process you adopt different methods, tools and all. This is what happens. So your research will not proceed if you don't do a proper review of literature, if you don't understand the review of literature, the works what happened in the particular area properly. So you cannot find out the research gap, and even you cannot frame the research problem. So if you cannot do this, you cannot continue with the research. So identifying research gap and research problem is very important in the research, and that happens only with the help of review of literature. So then when it comes to the review of literature, what are the things you can review? When it comes to what are the things you can review scholarly articles, books, theses or dissertations, case studies, or any other sources. Okay, so you can review it. So now, the review of literature, you can compare this the particular literature with the another literature which is focused on the same topic or on the same area of research. You can compare and contrast the sources. By that, even you can better understand a particular topic or the particular area of research. That even broadens your idea and extends your understanding of the particular field. And the next thing is, show how each source contributes to the body of language about the topic. So in your review of literature, after reading different literatures, just now I mentioned like scholarly articles, books, etc., dissertation, thesis, etc. It's not that after reading all that you are writing one explanation for that. So for each work, you give an explanation, you give a critical analysis or critical summary. So there you will find out what the where this particular literature is or in what way this particular literature is contributing to the existing knowledge. That's what you are actually um, you know presenting. So each source, whatever the book you refer, whatever each book you refer, each article you read, uh, and you write on literature review on that. There you actually you have to specify its contribution to the existing knowledge. So that's what you are doing. You are not writing in in a bulk. Uh, you know what are these sources are contributing, but for each source you have to specify that how each source contributes to the body of knowledge about the topic. That even makes our understanding even better. And when you go with the process of review of literature with the help of recent works, that even broadens the idea and even makes us to better understand the concept. So this is the one thing. And another thing is present your argument about the state of knowledge on the topic. That's what I'm repeating again and again. So you need to show what knowledge. Now after you gone through all these process of reviewing each source, then you have to show now what existing knowledge we have about that. Now we'll see some of the definitions. I think these definitions will even help us to uh, better understand what is review of literature. So here Denny and Tewksbury defines review of literature. Literature review is a comprehensive overview of prior research regarding a specific topic, shows the reader what is known about a topic and what is not known, thereby setting up the rationale or need for a new investigation. So Denny and Tewksbury says that a literature review is a comprehensive overview of prior research regarding a specific topic. So before you undertake a research on a particular area, there already many research happened in that on that topic. So you need to go through the prior research, okay, and you are showing to the reader that what we know about the topic and what is not known to us, and based on this what we know and what we you know uh, don't know, based on that you place your research and you start your research or investigation. This is what review of literature according to Denny and Tewksbury. Another definition by University of Wisconsin Writing Center that says that critical analysis of a segment of a published body of knowledge through summary, classification and comparison of prior research studies, reviews of literature and theoretical articles. So I think what the previous definition said, almost it also speaks in a similar way, but it says that it's not just a summary, but it's a critical analysis of the work, whatever happened, or the research, whatever happened so far. And this is what review of literature according to University of Wisconsin Writing Center. And another definition by American Psychological Association that says that authors of literature review evaluate a body of literature by identifying relations, contradictions, gaps and inconsistencies in the literature by suggesting the next step needed to solve the research problem. Uh, this is what American Psychological Association is saying. I think I no need to again explain this definition, since we already spoke about this. We already spoke about literature review evaluate a body of literature by identifying relations, contradictions, gaps regarding the gap also I told you, research gap, and inconsistencies in the literature, and by suggesting the next step needed to solve the research problem. So that's what I told in the beginning, that it's a first step. It's a first step in the research. If you don't do a proper review of literature, then your research will be on the crossroad, and no fruitful things happens. So, and another definition by University of Toronto. So University of Toronto says that literature review is an account of what has been already established or published on a particular research topic by accredited scholars and researchers. So this is what review of literature according to University of Toronto. And I think again no need of explanation for this definition as well, since this is what we are talking about uh, you know uh, from the previous point itself. So this is what is review of literature. This is what is review of literature. To summarize it, what we discussed now. Okay, I think if you go through this definition itself, that will summarize very easily. I think I'll take to summarize the University of Toronto definition only. To summarize what we discussed so far, that is, literature review is an account of what has been already established or published on a particular research topic by accredited scholars and researchers. So to put it in another words, or in different words, a review of literature is nothing but which shows you what is the existing knowledge and what we don't know about that particular thing or a particular topic, and based on that what we can be done. That is what we decide after the review of literature. So it's not as I mentioned already, it's not a mere summary. It's a critical analysis, a critical summary of a particular research work, and what the knowledge a particular research work is contributing to the existing knowledge. This is what we present in the review of literature. So now we'll discuss about some general characteristics of review of literature. So now we have basic idea that what is review of literature. We know that it's a critical summary or it's a critical analysis where you compare this work with this particular literature with the other literature which is done on the same area, and also you contrast. Based on that, you say what is the existing knowledge and where the gap exists. Okay, the particular issue where it has not been focused. This is what we do in the review of literature. This is what we understood based upon these definitions and the meanings what we went through, and also we know it's the first step in the process of the research. Now, based on all these discussions, now I am going to present you the characteristics of review of literature. The first characteristics of a review of literature, that is synthesis. So then what is synthesis? Literature review synthesizes the various works in the particular area. The process of synthesizing will give a reader a clear picture of the research is going to conduct. The major purpose of the researcher is to give the overview of the existing knowledge. The researcher goes through a large number of sources and presents different ideas or theories. This allows the reader to find the research problem and in turn gives the reader better clarity of the research. Second characteristic of review of literature, that is critical analytical summary. That's what I was talking about in the beginning. It's not a mere summary, it's a critical analytical summary. So literature review is a critical summary of a literature. Researcher, through his or her extensive reading, summarizes a particular work. It is not a mere summary of a literature, but also includes critical examination and evaluation of literature. While summarizing a literature, one has to consider the context of the literature, place, and author. Yeah, that is this becomes very important in the sense that you have to you are not just reading a particular article and writing the summary. When you are writing review of an article or a book, you need to understand the context of that article, in which context that article was written. It means that you have to understand one is the context of the literature, in what context, in what situation, or the based on the article was written or the book was written, or the place where it was written, and the author. You need to understand, sometimes what happens that authors will be having the influence of some ideologies. So when they do a research, these ideologies will be having influence on them. That you need to understand the place where the particular work was done, in which society the work was done, okay, on which society the work the author majorly focused on. That you need to understand while you are reviewing it. And the literature, the context of literature, you need to understand. So with that only you can make a critical analytical summary. This is all part of the critical analytical summary, otherwise you cannot better understand it. Otherwise what happens, the literature review becomes mechanical, and also there is a high possibility of misleading the study. So you cannot understand any work properly if you don't understand the context, the place, and author. So that is very important in the review of literature. And the third characteristics is the methodology. The review of literature is a methodology to conduct the research. As already I discussed with you with the about 2 points, the literature review provides us the knowledge of how to proceed with the research task. It is a systematic method of collecting and synthesizing the various researchers. When a researcher is doing the review of literature, he or she will understand the various methods or tools used in various literatures. This will give the knowledge of what technique can be used or appropriate for a particular research problem. So when we go through the different research work, different articles or the books, there will be a method. An author or the researcher adopted a method, and that we need to understand. So what method they have adopted. So based upon that, we can design the method. We can come to the conclusion that okay, we can go with this method. So this method will work. Whether should we go with a qualitative or the quantitative method? If the quantitative method, we need to decide what quantitative methods we need to adopt. So that we can decide. That will help us with the in the review of literature. That will help us based upon the other works what we're going through. Now another major thing is there is a difference between book review and review of literature. So book review and review of literature both are not same. Then what it is? So one should not get confused with the book review and literature review. In book review, a reviewer reviews style of presentation, arguments formed to justify the claims. Book review compares the similar books written on the same subject. But in review of literature, researcher summarizes and analyzes the research that happened in the particular area and the knowledge established in it. It is a review of collective literatures, but book review is specific. So these are the some of the characteristics of review of literature. And now, based on these discussions, we'll very briefly discuss about the classification of review of literature. Based upon the nature of the review of literature, we can classify that into the different categories. The one is narrative literature review. So narrative literature review is a critical analysis of electronic or paper materials. This type of review of literature will not specify the criteria used to select the articles or research works. It may be biased and may choose only selective articles. And the second category of review of literature, that is a systematic literature review. It is little contrast to the narrative literature review. The systematic literature review is more rigorous, systematic and comprehensive. There is a transparency in searching the databases and selection. It has specified criteria so that it can answer for a defined question. And the third one is argumentative review. The selective literature will be used to justify or reject an argument. Like narrative literature review, argument review is also biased, as we know that social science is not completely free from values. The argumentative literature review becomes legitimate to analyze the literature. So there will be the influence on the work when doing review of literature. And the another one, or the fourth classification of review of literature, that is historical review. Few things exist without reference to the past. Historical literature reviews examine, study over time, often beginning with the earliest appearance of an issue, concept, theory, or phenomenon in the literature and tracking its history within a discipline's scholarship. The goal is to place research from a historical perspective or from a historical context in order to demonstrate a familiarity with current advances and to suggest possible research directions in the future. Another type of research that is classification of research, that is theoretical review. This will provide us the knowledge of various theories to understand a particular concept, issue, or phenomenon. This method analyzes and examines the existing theories and its applicability to the concerned issue or phenomenon. This method is used to show a lack of adequate theories or to show that current theories are ineffective for understanding new or prospective research issues. Actually, what happens that today most of the social problems, to understand the most of the social problems, if I'm taking social science as example, we have a theories. To understand a conflict, we have a theory. To understand discrimination, justice, equality, we have a theories, rights, liberty, and all. But the thing is, when the moment we consider Indian society and the Western society, both are same, and if we apply the same theories, the theories will prove ineffective to understand the problem. So I think the theoretical review will help us to come out from such kind of problems, that what theory we can use to understand a particular issue or the concept, and based on that we can decide whether we should go with the same theory or we should develop a new theory. So this is we can do with the help of a theoretical review. And finally, that is a methodological review. The methodological review, I think in the characteristics also we discussed. Okay, what is methodology? I think the methodological review is almost related to that only. The methodological review, literature review majorly focuses on which method of analysis has been used to say something. This method will help a researcher to understand theory adopted, collection and analysis of data, sampling, interview and applying conceptual knowledge to the real social issues in the research. So with this knowledge, a researcher can better design the tools whichever is effective to draw concise conclusion in his or her research. So this is what you know the basic things about review of literature. So here we discussed about what is review of literature, what are the characteristics of review of literature, and then we discussed about different types or the classifications of review of literature. So with this, I end the class 5, and we'll meet in class 6. Thank you.